welcome back to my channel. My name is Kaylin. This is my channel, Full Purpose and Heart, where I talk all about our homeschool life and journey and just all things homeschooling on our side of the mountain. And today's much anticipated video I have talked about for, well, pretty much since we started our school year. So I am going to share with you guys how I've organized our school year. This year is our 6th year of homeschooling, and I've organized it different from how I've organized all of our other school years. So I'm excited to share with you guys this new kind of flow that I've tried. And we've been doing school now for 4 weeks. So we've gone through a little bit of trial and error, and so far it seems to be working out. So I'm excited to share it with you. If you want to know, then let's go ahead and get started. All right, so as I've mentioned, I have video upon videos in my video logs. I will try to link one here in the eye in the sky of how I have organized our homeschool years in the past. And when I had just one student and then 2 students, it was really easy and phenomenal for me to have the crate that had all of the different files and putting everything for all of the students' needs within those files. And I loved it, and it worked out fantastic. However, this year I have a new schoolroom and a new setup, and I now have 3 students. And with all of those things combined, doing the file system wasn't really working for me. And so I decided I wanted to take on a new approach. So I've created this. Now, before I jump into it, if this is your first year homeschooling, and you only have 1 student, so you're at the beginning of your journey and you have 1, maybe 2 kids, this may seem really overwhelming for you because you haven't really been in the flow of a homeschool day. And I really loved the crate system for the years that we did it because it took the pressure off of knowing, well, what am I going to do on the next day and the next day and the week after that week? So that being said, I really still love that organized system that I've done in the past, and I still recommend it to friends and neighbors who start their homeschooling journey because it really helps map out your whole school year. Now, that being said, we are taking a different approach this year in our homeschooling journey in that we are doing more unit study-based learning. I'm incorporating family studies or family school, and we also have, we've moved away from binders and now we're doing drawers. So that's what I'm going to talk about here. That's a really long introduction, but here we go. So the first thing that I do when I organize my school year, and I do this every year, so this has not changed, is I print off my lesson plan book. And this is the first page that I print. This is my 2021-2022 school year at a glance. It starts in July, it runs through May, and it just has all of the dates for a Monday through Friday school week. And I do this because then I can kind of glance down and use it as an attendance sheet, both for myself as well as just for anybody else who may possibly ask in the future. Right now, I don't have to track my attendance, but if I ever need to in the future, if some kind of crazy law changes, then I won't have to be retracting and like trying to figure it out. I will already have it. So if you are in a state that needs to track your attendance, then this is how I do it. And as you can see here, I just bubble in or color in the days where we actually did school. And yes, there is color coordinated. It doesn't mean anything. I just like color. So July is blue, August is yellow, September is red, and that's just for fun and games. And then these are holiday weeks. Usually when I plan our whole school year, I will cross off the days that we have like vacations planned, or if we have family coming or guests in our home where I know for sure we're going to take days off. Those I will also put like a slash mark through. But for the purposes of this video, I decided to just make it a blank sheet so that you guys can get an idea of what it looks like without telling you what days we're going to be doing different things. So that is step 1. Step 2 to planning out my homeschool year is going to be choosing curriculum. What is it that I want to do with each of my kids? And to do that, I don't have one, but I just get a piece of paper and I put the kid's name on each piece of paper, and I do it by student. And I'll just go through each subject and write down everything that I find. Not what I want, not what I hope for, everything. So as I'm watching YouTube video after YouTube video and mama after mama sharing their curriculum choices, sharing their curriculum reviews, similar to the kind of information you find on my channel, I will write it down. If I like it, then I write it down. So anything that has to do with spelling, I'll write it down. Spell UC or Abeka or BJU Press or the homeschool, what is it called? Anyway, anything that you can find. Just write it all down, right? And that's why sometimes I start my videos with like, get your piece of paper out, because if I say something that you want, then you're gonna wanna write that down. When I finished that for all of my students, and now I have a big fat list, sometimes it takes like, 2 pages because I've literally written down every resource that sparked my interest. Then I will take time methodically going through each of those items, and I'll look at things like, first of all, how much does it cost? What is their approach? How many lessons are in it? Is it colorful? What is the scope and sequence? What kind of things are we going to be covering? Is it grade level, or is it is it at the level of my student? Not necessarily grade level, but does it match my students' abilities? All of those kinds of things I will look at. And eventually, like something, between praying and meditating and speaking with the Lord out loud and all of those things, we will decide on what curriculum we want for each of our subjects in that particular school year. So now I have my master list. I take that to whatever online source that I want, and I order all of my curriculum, and it starts showing up on my door. So that is kind of how we start planning for our school year. From there, this is where I have changed things, is I have decided to do school in 3 different segments during our day. So we have family school is the first part of our day, and I'm going to talk about each of these segments here in a moment. So family school is what we start. Unit study is the second portion of our day, and then seat work is the third portion of our day. So when I was gathering all of our curriculum materials for this year, I started with part 3 of our school day and what I wanted those curriculum seat work subjects to be. For us, this includes language arts and math. And then for my daughter, she has some history work that she does, or that I do with her, just kind of one-on-one, and reading, like their personal reading time. Okay. So that's all the stuff that I was writing down. Now for unit study and for family school, I just kind of took a broad picture of the whole school year and thought, what are some things that I always want to teach my students, but I never feel like I have time? And so for us this year, that included art, cooking. I wanted to read Little House in the Big Woods, so I made a unit about that. Marine animals, there was a unit that I had found online that I was like, oh, I would love to teach marine animals. So that was a little section that I decided to do for a unit study. Anyway, so when I was like gathering all this information and all this curriculum, something that I added this year was unit study topics. And what are some things that I wanted to dive into and just focus on for a duration of time during our school year? When I decided to do that, and when I started narrowing down that list, my brain went to like, okay, well, how am I going to incorporate this into our school day? We've done looping, we've done centers, and they all were successful. But this year I decided to do unit studies. And so I thought, well, what part of the day am I going to put that in? And so that's kind of how this whole thing built together. So I said, well, I need to plan something different. So I printed out, this is my lesson planner that I printed out. This is something that I made a really long time ago, and it's based off of an Erin Condren planner. It just didn't have all of those like class pages in the beginning, because I felt like I didn't want to invest in an Erin Condren planner and then have like 70 pages that I didn't use because I don't have like a classroom. I don't need a seating chart. I don't need a contact list or, attendance form or anything like that. So I just printed this off. This is my own personal one, and I made it available on Teachers Pay Teachers if you want to print it out. I then had it spiral bound so that the pages are not loose leaf. I have done it, and I talked about this in a video previous, in the beginning of the year, I used a hole punch for like the Happy Planner and then those discs. And that was not successful for me. The pages always came out. And then with so much usage, the way that I use it during the school day, 4 days a week, it just was not working for me. So I went down and had it spiral bound so that I don't have to worry about pages falling out, and it's so much more durable. Now, when you print it off up on the top here, I had originally put subject, subject, subject so that you can put all of your math lessons in one column, all of your science lessons in a second column, and that's how I have used it in the past. But this year, I'll just show you one of these. This year, I switched it so that in the first column here is family school. In the second column here is my unit study, and then I have a column for each of my students. And then this column here are any notes or tasks that I need to get done or pages I need to print off for the next school day. And I will fill this in during our school day. Okay, so we'll talk about that in a minute when we get there. So let's start here with family school. Family school to me was those subjects that I wanted to touch on every day with my students, that was equal across the board for them. So for me, this includes our science subject and our character studies. And everybody gets the same pages. If we have a coloring page, or if we're telling a story, if we're playing a game, then everybody plays that game together. All of that, it's just a family discussion school. We do our memory work here. We also are doing our state study, our geography here during family school. And there's not really like a timeline to it, although I try not to go too long because I don't want our school day to be, 8 hours long. So our family school typically lasts, I'm going to say maybe 20 minutes. So we do a quick memory verse. We'll talk about our character quality of that month or that week or whatever it is. And then we'll do a little bit of science, which may be like 10 minutes or so of science. So it could depend. Maybe it would be anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes of family school. And so that's when I went through to plan that, what I did is I just took my curriculum, and I don't have it here to show you, but I just took my curriculum and just went through the teacher's manual, right? The teacher's planning guide. So it would say like day 1, do this, day 2, do this. And I literally just took those words and put it on my page here. So in the curriculum, let me reach over here and get it so you can kind of, okay, so this is my character studies curriculum. I've talked about it before, but you'll just see here, this is what the publisher has printed for me, right? So it says Monday do this, Tuesday do this, Wednesday do this. So I just kind of, as I'm planning my weeks, I'll just look at this and be like, okay, let's turn to page 3. Let's read about that. This is what it is. And if I like it, then I'll add it to my list here. And if I don't like it, then I skip it. And that's what I write down on here. So on Monday, we're going to do whatever I said, memory verse, attentiveness, and then the Dear Story video, right? So then we go down here. We're going to do our memory verse and read pages 4 and 5. Then I'm going to do the memory verse and read attentiveness, pages 6 and 7. And I didn't like invent the wheel. I just copied what they have in the lesson plan here and the sample schedule. So that's why it was really important for me to find a curriculum that had a sample schedule, because it was less brain work for me. So that's the first start. And then when we do science, it's the same thing. I pull out the book that I'm going to use. So for demonstration, let's say I'm using this book, then I'll turn to the page that I want to do. Let's say we're doing the animals, how animals look like their mothers. I'm trying to show the beginning of it. I can't even find it. Anyway, so here's the beginning. So then I'm just going to go page by page, and I'll say, okay, well, I want to do a vocabulary day, and then we're going to read pages, whatever these pages are. Okay, so I just go through the book and decide what I want to do with my kids. And that is what I wrote down here. Now, in this week, we didn't do science because it was our first week of school. But you'll just see here, I wrote down science, lesson 1, or this is like week 1, lesson 1. Week 1, lesson 2. Then we did a vocabulary day. Week 1, lesson 5. So I just kind of broke it down day by day. And I did that for 6 weeks. And at 6 weeks, I stopped. Now, some of you may be thinking, well, why did you choose 6 weeks? 6 weeks fit into one of the curriculums that we were using. We finished the book in 6 weeks. And so I just decided it was kind of a good moment to stop. And then at the end of 6 weeks, we will reevaluate where we are, if we have fallen behind, and kind of be able to move the schedule or move the lesson material around a little bit so that we can be prepared to start fresh on week 7 and not continually be so far behind in our work that now I'm working off of page 2 when we're actually, or week 2 when we're actually in week 7 or whatever, right? The other kind of tidbit, and I'll throw this in here, why I planned for 6 weeks and not 1 week at a time is because I want to be able to set a goal for myself of where I want my school year, how I want my school year to flow. And by planning for 6 weeks and say at the end of 6 weeks, I want to be on lesson, I don't know, let's say 37, right? I don't know how many days that is, but just for an example, let's say at the end of 6 weeks, I want to be on lesson 37. Well, let's say we get to the 6 weeks and I'm only on lesson 32. So now I have that buffer that I can either say, well, these lessons have some important concepts that I want to make sure we don't miss. So now we're just going to continue on and tag them on here into week 7. Or I might look at the lessons between lesson 32 and 37 and say, this is a lot of review. We've been reviewing it. We've been doing it. There's nothing here that's necessarily new. Okay, so I might look at those 5 lessons and say, because we have reviewed this so much, we're going to toss these lessons and just start fresh on lesson 37, which is where, or 38, which is where I wanted to start this school week. So, there's a benefit there because then when you get to the end of the school year, you don't recognize like, well, now we're 20 lessons behind where I wanted to end or 50 lessons behind where I wanted to end. And we've missed all of these concepts. And so then you feel like, well, it's June and now we're getting to the end of June and we're still trying to finish these concepts that need to be in this school year before we start the next school year because you've kind of like stretched it out over the year and you've missed 5 lessons here and then 3 lessons there instead of all of them at the end of the school year. I hope that makes sense. Okay, moving on. So this is how I've planned our family school. The next section on my thing here is our unit study. And the first unit that we're doing is Little House in the Big Woods. If you've been here for a minute, you know, and you've been seeing me do that. I found the Little House in the Big Woods series. I had never read it as a child. And so I wanted to read it with my daughter who is now going into 1st grade. I thought this was just going to be a fun thing for me to do with her. And then I'm going to bring the boys along with it. So I built my own unit for this unit study. And in my very beginning phases of unit study life, I have kind of decided or learned that I may need to be building all of my unit studies on my own. I've never done it before. I don't really know for sure what I'm doing, but this is what I've decided to do. So we're in it to see what happens. So I went through and I did a whole video on how I built that literature unit study and I did a video for it. So if you want to watch that, you can. But from those pages, and I don't have them here with me, but from those pages, I just filled them into my lesson manual here. So I just pretty much copied what I had planned to do on a day-by-day basis. And I just included it here. So read these pages, and then these are the activities we're going to do this day. Read activities, right? So I just wrote down and broke up my whole unit study into day by day, so that now I know what I need to accomplish on any given day. The thing with my literature unit study, as I suspect it will be with most of my unit studies, is that you can't really miss days, because with a literature unit, if I miss days, then I'm missing entire pages of text, right? So this one has been a little bit more tricky for me to maneuver and kind of slide by missing days or two, because if I miss too many days, then we get too far behind and we miss giant parts of the story. So that one has been tricky to try and use the same mentality that I do with my other curriculum units or my curriculum sources. So anyway, so that's what we do for this. Now I have my entire unit study planned out, and it takes 7 weeks for me to finish the whole book and do all of the activities. So I did fill out all 7 weeks, but it was just one additional week for that. So in my brain, I'm thinking I'm going to try to keep my unit studies to about 6 weeks. I think that that's a pretty decent amount of time to focus on one subject and dive deep into a subject, as opposed to just kind of do the surface level for a week or two. All right. So that's the first 2 parts of our day. Now, our unit study will only be, I try to keep it, again, pretty brief. So we may be reading and then doing our activity for 15 to 30 minutes. If it's an art activity, like when we did the Jack Frost window clings, that was a big art craft day, and so it takes more time. But the kids love to do arts and crafts, and so they don't mind. However, when we were writing our essay, then I tried to keep those into smaller chunks, and we just wrote, we outlined our essay on one day, and then we filled out the sheet the next day to try and get our ideas into a paragraph, and then we did the final draft on another day. So just kind of gauge the attention span of your students and decide how you want to split it up and how many days you want to take to do those types of things. So, but I don't do art every day. I don't do a science project every day. And setting up my family school and my unit study this way has allowed me to explore those subjects that I'm excited about teaching with my students, and having diving deep into an art study with all of the famous artists, or a music and composers unit, or the marine animals unit, and not feel like I have to do something every single day because I want to learn about marine animals this year. So anyway, that is how I organized that. So then the next part of my organization is to do my students' seat work. And this is very straightforward for me. And it comes in 2 parts. So many of you, if you've been here for a minute, you've seen these are my charts that I make. They are my students' checklists. And I have one for my daughter this year. She's in 1st grade. And I have one for my son who is in 4th grade. My youngest student doesn't have one. I just go off of my own checklist for him. And what I do is I just go through their curriculum and decide what pages I want to do with them. So let me show you an example. Okay, so this is my daughter's language book. And when I went through and I planned her day, I just flipped through one page at a time and decided how much work do I want to give her in any given day. And I didn't know, I didn't know what the lessons looked like. And so I didn't want to assign one page front and back every day in the event that one of the pages is like, hey, write a whole paragraph or write a story or write an essay, in the case of my 4th grader, and then have him have to do 2 pages a day like that, right? So I physically go through each of the books and assign the pages to my kids. So for this particular one, and then I write it down on here, right? So right here, I would be like, okay, so this is page 23, and she's writing sentences. Write each sentence correctly. Remember the capital letter. And then this page is a good complement to it because she's not writing as much. And she has a fun little dot to dot activity. So in my lesson book, I'd be like, okay, on Monday, I want her to do a page 23 to 24. And then she's going to do 24 and 25. So the younger the levels, the easier it is for me to just have her do 1 page front and back a day. But for my older student, it was a little bit different because some days he'll do 3 pages, some days he'll do 1 page. So it really was important for me to actually physically go through page by page and assign that work to my kids. So let me show you a page here that is finished. You'll see my son's work. So this is M is for math, and he's going to do the times 6 card, like flashcards. And then CL stands for the publisher, Christian Light, and the pages he's going to do in that curriculum, pages 42 to 44. And then LA is his language arts, and he'll do these pages. Spelling is page 10, and then this is Spell UC, page 8. He has to read his book, and then this is the geography page that he's going to do. So I assign that out, And I do it one student at a time and one subject at a time. It just makes it so much easier. So first you just flip through their math book, right? Flip through their math book and say, okay, on Monday you're gonna do pages 42 to 44. On Tuesday you're gonna do 45 and 46. Then you're gonna do 47 and 48. 49 to 51, and that will be his whole school week, right? And then you go to the next, I would actually turn the page and just keep going, right? You do all of the math for the full 6 weeks. Then you do all of the language arts for the full 6 weeks. That way you're not like flipping through all of the books 100 times, right? So then when you're finished, now you've done that for all of your students and all of their books, seat workbooks that they're gonna do. So this is what my lesson plan now looks like. And I'm ready to start my school week. At the beginning of my school week or the day before, sometimes like I'll do it Sunday night, sometimes I'll do it Friday, like at the end of the school week just to be done. But anyway, then I will get out my students' checklist. This is a finished one from a couple weeks ago, right? And so I will then take what I've written in their book here. Let me see if I can show you here. What week was this? Let's see if we can do it from here. Okay. So here we have 28, 30 and 31, 34 and 38. So then when I go to here, I don't know where it is. Okay, it's right here, right? 28, 30 to 32, 34 and 38. So then I just do that all the way down. Her letters and sounds, I just put the page that she's gonna start on. And then this is her spelling bee. Anything that we are not doing, I just put lines through it. Like we're not doing this during this week, and we're not going to do the geography during this week. And here is your reading work. So then when she shows up to school on Monday, if I'm busy with one of the other students, then she knows that she's going to start her work here. Now, I've had questions about these color codes. When you buy this on Teachers Pay Teachers, you have the option of having it color coded or black and white. You have this pastel option, and then the other one is a rainbow option. For my son is more of like a standard rainbow, red, yellow, green, blue, purple. And when I had initially done this correlated with the tabs in their binders, but times have changed and I still love the colors. So now this correlates with work that they do in their seat out of a textbook. So they have their math textbook, their letters and sounds, their language one, the spelling bee is, this is from BJU Press, and there's a B on the front of it. So that's why my son is spelling chef, because there's a chef on the front of his book. So that's why I called it that. And then this is spelling UC. And we didn't do that yet. So these are all the ones that she can do pretty much independently and then ask for help. Spelling UC does have some teacher instruction involved with dictation, but and then I only had those 4 colors, so then reading and daily geography, just so that it's equal. There's not really a rhyme or reason to it. It's just visually appealing for me and for them. So I just I just left it. And so yes, they know that these are textbooks that they can get, but her reading is a book and her geography is a book too. So it's not a perfect science, but anyway, this has all of her checklists for things that she needs to do. And then at the end of the week, hopefully all of her check marks are off. Now, I'm trying to train my 4th grader to do his check marks. So at the beginning of the school year, I would say things like, oh no, you did no school today. And he's like, yes, I did. I'm like, well, all of your check boxes are not checked off. So I can't quickly glance at it and know that you've done it. So I'm trying to train him. It's a bit of a battle, but we're working on it. So anyway, that is how I planned for 6 school weeks. At the end of 6 school weeks, as I mentioned, then we will reassess where are my students, what curriculum is working, what is not working, what do we need to pull back on, and what do we need to push forward on. Maybe there's a concept that is super easy and we get to push forward on it. So then I will just go through and write it all down, right? So, oh, I forgot to mention this. You'll notice all these highlights on here. As we go through our school day, I will highlight as we finish it. And I do this because it helps me see where we're at and what we've missed. Because you'll notice when we did our 3rd week of school here, we missed some things. We kind of stopped. We missed a couple things here and there. And so it just helps me see kind of what we have done and what we haven't done. So And then this is where we are. And so we'll see here that we're taking the rest of the week off. But anyway, it just kind of helps us stay on track. Now you'll see there's no highlights here because we have not done it yet. But as we go through, then I'll highlight it. And it also helps me, especially with my youngest who doesn't have a checklist. Then I can just glance and be like, well, what do we need? What's next on our school day? And it helps us flow through the school day a little better. So there you go. That is how I have planned our entire school day. Now, I'm going to flip the camera around here really quick and I will show you my students' drawer system. This is something that I have seen off of Erica at Confessions of a Homeschooler. When I very first started homeschooling 6 years ago, I gained so much inspiration from her, and she was quite a bit ahead in her homeschool journey than I was in mine. She had much older students than I do. Well, my kids are about where her kids were at that time, and so I see myself kind of adopting some of those patterns, and these drawers are exactly what she had, and I have been dreaming of having them forever. So let me just show you really quick what I have and how I've organized my students' work in these drawers. All right, I am going to try and show you these drawers. These are Ikea drawers, and when I purchased them, they did not have any white in stock, so I went with the blue, begrudgingly, but I actually love them, so it worked out. In the top drawer here, I have, this is just a little, it's actually for makeup. It's on Amazon, and it's an expandable one, so it fit perfectly in her drawer here, and it kind of moves back and forth. And I just have like random stuff in here that we've gotten. These are erasers that the kids never use, but they look cute. And then scissors, crayons. We have mechanical pencils this year, as well as these erasable gel pens. My kids love to write with those. So, and then this is an eraser that goes with a dry erase board. And anytime that we write on like sheet protectors or something like that, then she has this that she can use. So, and she used to have a dry erase pen in here. Oh, she does. It's right here. So she has one dry erase pen. The others are in my youngest's drawer because he has more dry erase work that he does. She also has, this is her checklist. So she has this in here. She is, we have a cooking unit. She loves learning about being a chef. So this is in here because she just likes to look at it while I'm reading or something like that for our unit study. And then she has some markers in here. If we are doing an art project, then she has markers for there. So this is just kind of a catch-all drawer. It doesn't really, it's not necessarily like a subject area. Okay, so then in this drawer is going to be, she's got her vocabulary for her science, which should probably be up here actually. So this is her science and social studies drawer. She has her geography book in here that she does. And then this is her history, which I do with her every day. My fourth graders is set up a little bit different, but she just has her work in here. So we'll read the text and do this. And then I actually have my teacher's manual and my lesson plan in my basket that I have on the top of the desk. So in her third drawer, this is her math. And right now we're doing this Carson DeLosa interactive notebook. And I have printed off, or copied rather, her pages for the week. So she just pulls that page out and then she'll have that for the day. I leave the book in here so I don't have to like try and find it in all my stacks of books. And then she has her page that she does for this particular day. And because this is an interactive notebook, we've just been gluing it on colored cardstock or like construction paper. So I don't put that in here. She just goes to the stash and finds whatever color she wants. This drawer is her spelling drawer. So she has her spelling choice board that she can choose from if she wants to, if that's her assignment for the day. And then this is her actual spelling book that's going to have her spelling words. We are also doing, she does this page one time a day too. So she's got her student workbook and any stickers that she wants. And then this book is for her to do dictation in, or anytime that she has her spelling skill check. I try not to call them tests just because I feel like it doesn't matter that much to call it a test. Anyway, so those are the books and things that she has in this drawer. And then in this final drawer on the bottom is all of her language arts. So I just keep the whole book in here and she just turns to the correct page. And as we get through a chunk of pages, then I'll probably rip them out so that she doesn't have to like thumb through to find page 87 or whatever. But she just keeps all of her pages in here, and I don't have to worry about ripping out pages or trying to find them. She has her reading book. It's the same thing. Since there's a lot of like back-to-back stuff, I just keep the whole book in here. And then she also has these little readers, these little sight word stories. She just likes to read, so sometimes we'll have some like off time. Then she'll read the sight word stories, or she'll read her joke book. So that is a very big overview, kind of a long overview of how we have organized the school year for 2021-2022. And so far, 4 weeks into it, it's going really well. It's not a perfect science. It's just kind of, it's a flow, right? Homeschool is a flow, and it's always moving. It's a living, breathing entity in our lives. And so things are constantly changing. But for now, this is how we've set up the school year, and I'm pretty excited about it. It seems to be a good start. So hopefully you got some ideas from it and are able to implement some of those ideas into your school life as well. So thanks so much for watching this video, and we will catch you in another one.